Welcome. Today we're taking a deep dive into a story that, well, it really gets to the heart of identity, sacrifice, and finding your voice. It comes from a collection called Broken Mandates, A Woman's Journey to Voice, specifically an episode titled The Woman Who Said Enough. Our aim here is to explore the emotional weight of this journey, the pressures, the unspoken rules, and ultimately the strength it takes to reclaim yourself. It's raw, quite poignant.
It really is. And while it's one woman's very personal account, it opens up this bigger conversation, doesn't it? About those heavy, often invisible burdens we carry from family, from culture, these mandates, and the real cost of breaking free, or even just recognizing that feeling she talks about, being half dead and finally saying no more.
Exactly. It resonates, I think, far beyond just her experience. And to really ground us in her story, let's hear her introduce herself. She says this directly. I am Vanina Vergara, CV Vergara, to the English-speaking world, born in Asunción, Paraguay. I have 3 children whom I love deeply, and this is my life. So she starts by describing her upbringing. Amidst masses, rosaries, and that dense air of unspoken mandates, heavy as a tombstone. Wow. Heavy as a tombstone. Imagine growing up breathing that in. The core messages she felt were, be silent, obey, sacrifice. You were born to care, to endure, to serve. Serve your parents, then your husband, then your children, and you, last of all, if anything remains. It's a path to vanishing, almost.
That phrase, heavy as a tombstone, is incredibly powerful, isn't it? It captures how these rules, even unsaid, just permeate everything. They don't just guide your actions, they sort of pre-write your life story. Instilling this belief that putting yourself last isn't just okay, it's virtuous. And it becomes so ingrained so early on, part of the air you breathe, you don't even question it, it feels like. Well, just the way things are.
Right, and she lived it. She talks about being the caregiving daughter, saying she was the one who bore it all, the one who endured parents at odds, who placed her body where there was chaos, who remained silent though the cries thundered within. That's a heartbreaking image, a child acting as a shield. She explicitly says, I was made to care as a child, to protect as a young woman, and to obey when I scarcely recognized myself.
Yeah, and that's the trap of the caregiving child, isn't it?
Yeah.
You learn so young to prioritize everyone else's harmony or just survival. You step into these adult roles, and in doing so, you unknowingly start sacrificing bits of yourself, your own needs, your future self, really. It sets this pattern, this wiring for self-sacrifice becomes so deeply embedded, it's hard to even see later on, let alone break. It almost becomes who you think you are.
And this pattern tragically didn't stop in childhood. It carried right into her adult life. She calls herself the submissive wife, twice. And she draws this really stark contrast. The first marriage, she says, was under the romantic illusion of forever, but the second, that was under fear disguised as love. And in that second marriage, she endured gender-based and emotional violence before the silent eyes of my children watching suffering. Just think about that weight. Her own suffering, compounded by seeing her children witness it. How do those mandates to endure become so strong, stronger than the need for safety?
That's the devastating core of it, really. When those deeply rooted commands to endure, to keep the family unit intact no matter what, collide with the basic human need for dignity, for safety, we need to grasp is how societal pressure, family expectations, they can box you in, make you feel trapped. You end up rationalizing the abuse, maybe. Seeing it as a sacrifice you have to make for the family, for the kids. It's an impossible choice. This internal battle must be just immense, constant, between what's expected and what your gut knows is wrong. And it really begs that question, doesn't it? What finally pushes someone, after years of that, to ask, okay, but what about you? When do you get to live? It's a breaking point.
Yeah. A breaking point she calls a brutal rupture, divorce. And she makes it clear, no amicable divorce when what shatters is not merely a paper, but years of unrewarded devotion, of an identity erased. That really speaks to the depth of that loss. It's not just a relationship ending. But then came something else, maybe even harder. She says, the blow of being judged by my children, by my family, by society. The very people she'd sacrificed for seemed to turn against her. What must that feel like?
It highlights this cruel irony in society, doesn't it? We say children first, but then what happens when the parents falling apart? As she says, no one teaches you how to care for them when you yourself are in pieces. It's profound. And then facing custody loss, defamation, isolation. That's crushing. But she identifies the deepest wound. Her children questioning her, pulling away, sometimes erasing me altogether. That rejection of the very people you were trying to protect by enduring, it's an agony that goes beyond any court ruling or social judgment. She calls it an open wound. And she says, one never ceases to love one's children, even when they reject you. Children are a lifelong ache, and you love them still, even through the pain. That persistence of love, despite the hurt, it's incredibly powerful. It speaks volumes about that bond, even when fractured.
Absolutely. And it's right there in that absolute low point, feeling judged, rejected, in pieces, yet still loving that something shifts. It's not just about surviving anymore. It's a declaration, a reclaiming. This is the core, the turning point. She puts it so forcefully. But I was also, and I remain, the woman who said enough, the one who rose, the one who declared, I will not go on living half dead. The one who understood that being a good mother is not to vanish for them, but to fight to exist so that they might see it as possible to choose to live, to rebuild. Wow, just that understanding that fighting for her existence was actually for them too, that's a complete turnaround.
It absolutely is a total paradigm shift because it challenges that whole traditional notion of the good mother as purely self-sacrificing. The insight here is so important. Real strength, real care isn't vanishing. It's showing up whole. By fighting for herself, for her right to exist fully, she's actually modeling resilience for her kids, showing them that you can choose, you can live, you can rebuild, even after everything falls apart. It's demonstrating agency, proving that your own well-being isn't selfish, it's fundamental, it's the foundation.
And you see the results of that declaration and how she describes herself now. Today, I look back and see the mandates lying shattered upon the ground. What an image. I no longer serve at the table in silence. I no longer smile when I am erased. I no longer bow my head before what is unjust. It's not just escaping, it's actively dismantling that old structure piece by piece, inside and out.
Exactly. That's true liberation, isn't it? Not just from the outside stuff, but from those voices inside your head that kept you small for so long. And it really speaks to what resilience can mean. It's not always about bouncing back to how things were. Sometimes it's about building something entirely new, something stronger, more authentic from the wreckage, taking control of the story, setting boundaries, reclaiming power. It's integrating the wounds, letting them make you stronger, not defining you by the hurt alone.
She sums it all up so beautifully at the end. I am a daughter, a mother, a wife, a professional, a citizen, and above all, I am a woman with a voice, with a story, with wounds, and with wings. That balance acknowledging the pain, but also the freedom, the flight, it's powerful. Avina's journey really makes you pause, doesn't it? It forces us to look at the hidden costs of conforming, of these unspoken rules. It's a story steeped in sorrow, absolutely, but also just radiating this incredible strength that came through that sorrow. So thinking about this, what does it bring up for you, listening? Does it make you think about any unspoken mandates in your own life? Sacrifices made silently.
It really is hold up a mirror, I think. Her story gives us this language, this framework to maybe see the invisible architecture in our own lives, those subtle pressures from family, culture, maybe even ourselves that might be guiding us, maybe limiting us without us fully realizing it. So the question it leaves us with is, what would it take for us to identify those forces, to really see their impact? And if we need to, find the courage Vanina found. The courage to maybe shatter some mandates for our own sake. And maybe, just maybe, for the sake of those who watch and learn from us too.
A powerful thought to sit with. Thank you for exploring this incredibly moving story with us today. Vanina's journey is a profound reminder that transformation, finding your voice, reclaiming your life, it's always possible. And if Vanina's story resonated with you, she does invite connection. She says, I read letters sent to mailto.vergaravanina@yahoo.com.